So today, I'm going to give a speech on how the decriminalization of drugs could not only save everyone, taxpayers, $23.6 billion annually, but also could lead to a more safe and sober United States. Growing up in the city of Philadelphia, where I'm originally from, I was exposed at an early age to a lot of violence, a lot of addiction, and all the things that entail with it. Now, walking down the street on a normal day through North Philadelphia, it's not uncommon nowadays, especially from a section of 2 blocks called the Badlands, to see uh, needles everywhere, trash can fires, graffiti and spray paint on literally every surface of building that's available, crime and violence that's rampant from addicts. Now, unfortunately, here in the United States, we have failed said drug addicts, mainly because the way that we look about addiction is outdated. We treat people with addiction issues as a criminal, as someone that is lesser than us, when in reality that's not the case. There are people that are sick, and when you are sick with health, you go to a hospital. When you're sick with spirit, you go to church. Now, when you have the addiction, we have rehab facilities. Most public ones are horribly underfunded, and most private ones, well, unfortunately, are just too expensive for the average person to go to. But with the decriminalization of drugs, we might be able to achieve something. Now, looking back into addiction, there was a study conducted in the 70s. This study is called Rat Park. Now, Rat Park took a rat and gave him an addiction to cocaine. Basically, they laced his bottle with the drug, and they stuck that rat in a small cell. And they told that rat, basically, you have 2 options. You can choose between the normal water bottle full of normal water or water that was laced with cocaine, and stuck in a small, damp cell with nowhere to go and no one to communicate with, no toys to play with. Obviously, that rat chose the cocaine-laced water every single time. Now, you took the same rat with the addiction, you took him into a very large cage, and you filled that cage with toys, with a lot of space, and plenty of female rats for him to have sex with. And then you put the same 2 water bottles in that cage. Not only did none of the other rats touch the cocaine-laced water, but that rat, and with all the other experiments concluded, 99% of the time never touched the cocaine-laced water as well, basically curing its addiction. Now, why would that cure the addiction? That study basically drawed up the idea that addiction stems from our environment that we're surrounded by. For instance, if you take a rat in an uncomfortable environment, he's automatically going to want to escape. That escape being a drug. Now, we saw that with the first rat, but if you surround him with things he enjoys, a healthy environment for him as well, he doesn't have a reason to escape. He's happy with his own reality. Now, a lot of the private rehab facilities get this concept. That's why you see celebrities going to these Malibu beaches where they get massaged and pampered 24/7. But unfortunately, with most cases as well, with these rehab facilities, they slew back into their old habits, and it rears its nasty head. Unfortunately, even though this rat park experiment has been studied often, they find that there usually isn't conclusive evidence, that we don't have any real world examples that this could actually work, that addiction is more of a disease and environment based. However, we do, believe it or not, in the 1960s and 1970s, America was at war with Vietnam. Now, in that war, take a scared 19-year-old kid drafted into the army. So that means he didn't enlist, he was just told to show up. Stick him in the jungle, surrounded by an unidentified enemy that could pop up at any moment. He could step on any booby trap. He's unfamiliar with the language, with the people, with the culture, and obviously he's going to want to escape. Now, during the Vietnam War, between 40 to 50% of all troops had tried or were addicted to opioids. In fact, in the late 70s, when more troops were coming home from the war, there was a huge scare in the media that all these opioid addicted troopers would be coming home and that there would be a drug epidemic that would be across the United States. However, we saw that almost 90% of those soldiers didn't actually go back to their addiction. Now, why is that? They went back to their hometowns, they found a nice girl, they got a good job, they started a family, they created a comfortable environment for themselves. So with this real world application, we can see it really is going to help. But what can we do to change that? Well, the decriminalization of drugs. Now, to connect the two pieces, it's a radical idea, yes. However, it being the decriminalization would cause over 60% of the people that are incarcerated in the United States to be released from prison, mainly because the majority of people that go in are for drug-related crimes. The majority of them for having possession of said drug. The country of Portugal back in 2001 was going through a severe crisis. They had an opioid epidemic. In fact, 1% of the entire population was addicted to heroin. 1% doesn't sound very large, but to put in perspective, it was a country at the time of around 10 million people. The state of California has more people than that in total. And they didn't have the economy to support those people out of work, the addiction problem, and that was just heroin alone, let alone all the other drugs that were rampant across the streets. So they went with a radical idea. They decriminalized all drugs or possession thereof. It's still illegal to have an amount that's estimated to sell. For instance, that being it's a pound of marijuana, it could be a kilo of cocaine, very large amounts. But just getting caught with possession, they created a court system. They took those 60% of people that, I mean, if we put in the United States perspective, that's about 650,000 people out of jail, which then would save us $23.6 billion, and it put them in government-regulated rehabilitation facilities. And for the country of Portugal, because they changed the view of addiction, that was an environment issue. They had these nice rehab facilities. They had people going back to work. They had people starting families, getting their life back on track, and now are the most sober country in all of Western Europe. Put that into the United States perspective, those billions of dollars could be used for good. Those billions of dollars could be used for taxpayers to divert their money to better causes domestically without taking away from any foreign assets that we have. I think a big thing I would love to see improved would definitely be the condition of the roads around here. For sure, I hate changing my tires once a year when I go over that large pothole and bend a rim. But also with that, it could go into healthcare systems, go into Medicaid and Medicare. Basically, it could improve the quality of life for us, the normal taxpayers, but also could improve the quality of life for all other addicts around us, creating a safe and healthy environment for everyone, saving money in the process, and helping America end the war on drugs, mainly because the tactics that we're going about nowadays hasn't been effective. It hasn't been since in the 80s when that war was declared, and there's been literally zero change. It went from the crack epidemic to the heroin and opioid epidemic that we see now. It's just the same war but different battles that we fight with nothing changing. So therefore, the decriminalization of drugs can help our economy, help our people, help addicts recover, and help everyone have a happy and healthier society. Thank you.